Well, I'm Robert Hogan. My career, I'm obsessed with the topic of leadership. The old joke is that psychologists always study their problems. It's kind of a problem, I guess. When I worked my way through college, and I ran a crew of janitors in two really expensive buildings on the Rodeo Drive in Beverly Hills. One building was owned by the Rather people who financed Disney. The other building was owned by Alan Ladd, who was the richest guy in Hollywood. So I had to persuade blue-collar kids to do high-quality work in a kind of an unattractive environment, janitorial work. So by the time I left college, I knew how to get blue-collar kids to do dirty work in an effective way. I was commissioned in the Navy. I reported aboard ship. I'm now a bona fide naval officer. First year, I didn't have much to do, but I was in the gunnery department. I discovered we were unable to fire the guns. This is a combatant ship that couldn't shoot its guns. After the first year, I took over the gunnery department. I fixed the guns because I knew how to get blue-collar kids to do dirty work. And we won. I fixed the guns really well, such that we won fleet-wide gunnery awards for gunnery excellence. And as a return for, as payment for that, my old line is, work hard, do a good job, and succeed where everyone predicts you'll fail, and they'll never forgive you. So we did. We fixed the gunnery department, and the other officers hated me. And their constant complaint was I didn't understand anything about leadership. And so I spent 2 years being abused, being told I didn't know anything about leadership, and hence drives my interest in the topic of leadership. So my whole career has been about trying to understand leadership. I think that Freud always said social behavior is a text to be interpreted. That is, what you see is not what you get. You need to figure out what's going on underneath. So social behavior is a text to be interpreted, and what Freud was interpreting social behavior for was signs of psychopathology. I agree with the precept. I think social behavior is a text to be interpreted, but I think what we're looking for are talent signals. So we're trying to interpret social behavior, decode social behavior, and identify signs of talent and competence, leadership potential, creativity, so forth. And signs of psychopathology are relevant because they will degrade people's ability to realize their talents. But so the general project is to decode social behavior and identify signals for talent and high-level performance and whatever it might be. So we assign numbers to little chunks of behavior and then see what those numbers predict, and when those numbers predict appropriate outcomes, we're good to go. So that's the whole research process. I mean, and for me, that's absolutely fascinating, trying to get beneath the surface of behavior and identify signals that indicate you've got this going for you or that going for you, or this is a problem or that's a problem. And I think that's the agenda. It's a research agenda, it's an empirical agenda, and it's intellectually challenging. It's fun. Well, my background was in physics and engineering, and I got involved in psychology. I'm not quite sure why, because I guess I read Freud when I was in high school, and I didn't know what I was going to be when I grew up. And I thought the notion that people could do things for reasons that they didn't understand, and that if you could identify you could make their lives a whole lot. I just found that inherently fascinating. And I guess so. The problem was that when I went off to study psychology. Back in the day, it was just rat psychology, and it was the worst damn thing in the world. It was really, really stupid. And so I just kind of blundered into it. It was not a direct process. After I got out of the Navy, I went to work as a probation officer, and I was working with delinquent kids, and I did that for about a year and a half. It was absolutely fascinating. It was the same deal, interviewing these kids and doing background searches to see if you could find signs of talent so you could help them recover and get back to a normal life. Working as a probation officer, there was nothing to help. There was no literature on it whatsoever. I go to the libraries looking for, what are keys and effective ways of dealing with delinquent kids. And I thought, okay, it was the Kennedy administration. Ask not what the country can do for you. Ask what you can do for you. I said, I'm going to solve the problem of crime. So I went to graduate school to solve the problem of crime. So I could, crime's the biggest single social problem we've got. And solve the problem of crime, make a huge contribution to American society. Well, so when I got to graduate school, I discovered that no one was interested in practical problems. What does a white rat know about crime? So graduate school was not a lot of fun, but I persisted, and I actually did solve the problem of crime after a fair amount of research. I modeled understanding delinquents, but nobody was interested. At that point, I thought, well, I have to make some money, so if they're not interested in that, maybe we'll try this. I mean, the underlying research methodology in personality psychology is personality assessment. And I thought, well, this was the early 1970s, and it was clear that, well, the U.S. historically psychologists take as signs of talent IQ tests. And what they really did was they used IQ tests as a way of allowing organizations to avoid hiring minorities. And the Civil Rights Act of 1964 made it illegal to discriminate in the hiring process. That's what psychologists specialize in, discriminating in the hiring process using IQ tests. And with the 1973 development of the EEOC, it opened a door for us because I knew that personality predicted occupational performance as well or better than IQ, but didn't discriminate. And so I said, there's an opportunity to start a business here, which is to help companies hire better people without discriminating. And that's the source of that's been the source of all of our research and our business proposition since 1973. I think an undergraduate psychology major should understand that if they want to actually have a career in psychology, they're going to have to go to graduate school. And and then so they need to take courses that actually interest them, as opposed to courses that the psychologists make them want them to take. And then I think the most important single lesson I could give them is forget everything they learn as undergraduates in psychology.